Welcome, my little seventh grade artists. Welcome to Art 1. Um, what are we going to be doing today? Let me show you. We're going to be making Zentangles. Can you see that? Aren't they beautiful? See how beautiful those designs are? So what are Zentangles? Are many works of art that help you relax, focus, and stay mindful by making patterns or repetitive visual elements, such as line and shape. See how many lines there are? How many shapes there are? So why is this important? It's so that you can learn to use art to impact your mood, your state of mind, and to make artistic choices to help you learn how to create patterns through repetition and variation. Okay, so let's get to it. I kind of mentioned it, but I'm going to say it again. Zentangles are drawings of structured patterns. You create patterns by repeating visual elements like dots, lines, and shapes. Zentangles promote focus, relaxation, and mindfulness through slow, intentional mark making. So what's a line? A line is a dot that went for a walk. So if I put my pencil here and I just dragged it across the paper, you get a line. And shape. What is shape? Shape is an enclosed space. So in all of these examples, you get the feeling that there's space and it's enclosed by something. You can kind of think of it like a fence. Sometimes that fence is very visible, like in this dark black line, and sometimes the space is enclosed by an invisible fence, but you still get the feeling that there's a fence there because there's edges that mark the ending of that space all the way around. See that? Do you have any questions about that? Okay, wonderful. So one of the things that you can do, like I mentioned, to make a pattern is to repeat. Remember, a pattern is when you repeat a visual element, such as a line. These are all examples of patterns of lines. So you're just repeating a line over and over and over again. They can be all different types of lines, like these half circles over and over and over again. These diagonal lines. These are diagonal lines, but they overlap. So it creates these shapes in the middle. And something that you can do to make your pattern interesting is to put variation in it. Variation just means to make different. You're adding different types of things. So for example, let's take this pattern right here. So it's repetition of a triangle. You see that they're all triangles. However, you have different types of triangles. You have black triangles, you have white triangles, you have narrow triangles, you have fat triangles, you have triangles that look like they're going in one direction, and then you have triangles that look like they're going in another direction. Let's see here. Same thing with these. So you have a repetition of shape, and that shape is a circle. But there's variation in these shapes because they're all different sizes. So you have a small, a medium, and a large, and they're all in different places. They're not like in a straight line or in any sort of predictable formation. It's all very fluid, organic. And you can see that each shape is not perfect. They're all unique. Even though they're all circles, they're all unique shapes. So they're all different. They're the same, but they're different. And when you put these two together, you get a more interesting pattern. Do we have any questions about that? Okay, so to introduce this to you formally, variation is to make something different, and repetition is to use it again. Pattern is when you repeat a visual element, such as a line, a shape, or a dot. And variation is when you change that. So you look at how many different lines there are in here, but they're all lines. This entire work of art is just line. So this is a kind of accumulation of different line patterns. Okay. So let me stop. I'm going to go over how to get from this to this. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have a 3x3 piece of paper and a Sharpie marker or our ballpoint pen. So first thing you want to do is you want to divide your space, your little square, your little canvas, by making lines that go from edge to edge. You see you have one line here and it goes all the way to the other edge. One line here and it goes to the same edge. This line goes from this edge to the other edge. You just want to make sure it goes from edge to edge. The next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that they overlap, because when they overlap, you get these sections right here. And these sections are where you're going to be putting your patterns. You want to have at least 5. You want at least 5 patterns, or 5 sections. You want to have at least 5 sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have more. I'm going too fast for you, just let me know. But I just want to go through over with you once all the way through, and then we can go over it again slowly. And the next step you want to do is you want to pick a section. And then you want to draw a pattern in there. And you might be like, but Miss, I'm not creative. I don't know how to make a pattern. You know, you can't just expect me to just come up with something. Well, there is such a thing as intuitive art making, and this is one of them. You just allow yourself to make anything that you kind of feel. Okay, and it's very simple because right now you're limited to shapes, lines, and dots. So let me show you. I'm going to pick a section. I'm going to pick a section. So I choose this section, and I'm going to choose a visual element of line, shape, or dot. I choose shape, and that shape is a circle. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat it, because remember, a pattern is a repetition of a visual element. So I'm repeating it in this space, but I'm not just making it like the same circle. You can, but in order to make it interesting, I want to vary that circle. So I have these kind of like more perfect circles that look like oranges. And then I have something like this, and this can look more like a watermelon. So it's elongated. So then I decided that I wanted to put a thick line around each of these circles. And remember, I want to vary that line. Okay. And another thing too that I may not have mentioned, but it's important for me to do that, is that you want these designs to be dense. That means they're very detailed and there isn't a lot of empty spaces. There are some empty spaces like right here or right here, but not many. Okay, so you want your design to be dense, not a lot of empty spaces. So I decided to fill up that empty space around these circles with a different type of line. Okay, so I have these thin lines. And then I have these empty spaces here. Remember, I wanted dense design, the dense pattern. So I decided that I'm going to make these repeating dots in these empty spaces. And you can call these empty spaces negative spaces. Okay, so there you go. Start with a visual element, and then I repeat it. I added some line for repetition and variation. I have a thick line, I have a thin line. I made sure that all the spaces were filled with something, such as line or dots. Okay, there you go. Okay, let me talk very quickly about things that will grade you, I might grade you down for. So the lines need to be unrushed. These are example of rushed lines. So you can see someone was just scribbling to get it done, and you want to be in the moment. You want to be present. These are coming out of the boundaries. You see that? These you can see they're going so fast that they didn't even bother to fill up the space completely. So they're letting the space show through. You're letting the page show through. So let me just make sure that I show you the requirements, and then I'll let you go and then check on you. Any questions so far? Okay, these are the requirements. The strands must go from edge to edge. You can see in this window, all the strands, they go from one edge to the other. You have to have 5 different sections. I have more than 5 different sections, but you have to have at least 5. Each section must have a separate design. In other words, one section and the other section, they can't have the same design. And then the pattern must be a repetition of line or shape. And variation, I don't mention it there, but it also has to be variation. So just choose to change the shape in some way. Repeat it, but change the shape in some way, a little bit. Okay, good craftsmanship. Make sure that your design isn't rushed, slow down. It's not about finishing, it's about being mindful. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. It becomes a part of the design. Make slow, purposeful marks. Make sure that your marks don't look like they're hurried, or you put very little effort into it. You're just rushing to fill it in. Make sure that they're inside the lines. And lastly, make sure you have a dense design. So that's it. Have fun. There's no good or bad. There's only staying in the moment and rushing through it. We don't want to rush through it. So I will check in with you in a little bit.